This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by John Blanco, our honored patron and Switch Knight. Hey everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch diehard. And today we have I would say, a pretty important episode of the podcast, JV.
How so, KC?
Because we're talking about Bayonetta. I know it's not the new one that they're working on, but I do think that Bayonetta is one of those highly hyped games that people just such a great diehard fans for, and it's a series that I have regrettably never gotten into, so I am excited to hear about that. That's that's probably the biggest title we're going to see for a little while until Kirby or something else hits the Switch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is one of the bigger titles that have been announced and released, so I feel like it's worthy of quite a bit of discussion, and I'd love to cover that here.
And I feel like we just heard about it, announced not that long ago, and now we have it here. We also, we're using our usual handles this week because we have finished our application for PAX East press badges, and we were declined.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that. There are probably a lot of factors involved. Maybe we didn't register early enough, or if maybe they don't quite respect podcasts as much.
It was even more just to feel recognized as something weighty.
Yeah, that's a thing. When it comes to podcasts, you really have to be tied to something bigger, like an IGN podcast or the Nintendo company as a whole, in order to be fully recognized as, a media contributor. It's definitely difficult. It's an uphill battle for podcasts to get that recognition.
It's just a blow to my ego, man. I feel like, everybody knows this, right? Everyone, all Switch fans know the SwitchCast, right? But no.
No.
I know. But, it's hard not to have that, especially when I turn on the microphone and we start recording. You gotta have that confidence. You gotta speak like everybody knows and loves your voice, and it's the only way I can go on here. So when it gets contrasted with harsh reality, it's just it's something to absorb, and I have to deal with. But we're moving on. We're still going to PAX, obviously, guys. That was just there.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be there for all 4 days because of this, though. I will now be going for the 2 days that I got my regular tickets for. How long are you going to be going there for?
I'll be going for the whole time, so I believe it's Thursday to Sunday. I'll be there the entire time.
All right, that sounds awesome. I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. It makes my planning a little easier since all I have to do now is... I liked it last year. I just booked a place to crash for the night. I literally was there just... the 9 hours, 30 minutes to settle in, sleep for 8 hours, 30 minutes to shower and leave, and I was gone, and I was back at the convention, and I just went home from there, and I'll repeat that. I'm happy with not having to worry about too much booking of stuff. So I'm going to be looking for just a place to crash for one night, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good. And you know what? Honestly, I'm actually pretty excited to do a live podcast there. I think we should do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, we should do that. And of course, we have been, what does feed my persona a little bit is the fact that a lot of the developers there have already been contacting us about coming out, checking out their games and their booths, maybe getting some interviews. I mean, I love getting interviews. It's my favorite thing about going to PAX. I spend pretty much the first 12 hours just talking to as many devs as I can and getting interviews like I did last year for the podcast, and that should be great. And then sitting down with you and just talking about everything we saw and getting a little live podcast will be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait. And honestly, there are a lot of Nintendo Switch and even SwitchCast fans in the East Coast. So,
oh yeah,
maybe a SwitchCast meetup could be arranged somewhere.
I think
knows?
we will definitely arrange something to hang out, to play a few games.
Yeah, a hangout, maybe like a dinner.
Oh, Handheld Lounge is going to be sick this year with Switch people.
Oh, you're right. Okay, I'm excited. Let's do it.
I can't wait to plop on those beanbag chairs and just start playing pickup games with anybody.
Yeah, I think we should do it.
All right. We will start planning this sort of stuff. But speaking of planned events, we had a really fun last-minute SwitchCast Cup on Sunday. I was talking about on the last podcast how I wanted to do more of these events and get more people together. So I just said, all right, I'm doing it. Sunday, we had a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament just for an hour. It was pretty fun, and a lot of people showed up. I gotta say, I think a lot of people were interested, not only because it's been a while since we did this, but it's been a while. I feel like people just looking for any kind of tournament on there. The numbers have probably leveled off by now, so we probably picked up a lot of just random people looking for tournaments in general who might be diehard Mario Kart players who joined in too, because we had at least, I'd say, about 20, 25 people in the room we made for this.
It was a lot more than I expected, considering scheduling restrictions that everyone has. And it was kind of a quicker turnaround, too. We announced it pretty much the episode before we did it, so.
Yeah, and I gotta say, a lot of people are disappointed because, we have a lot more listeners in the UK and Europe that I realized, and they were all like, oh, no, sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern time is 1 a.m. for me, so we're not going to be able to
on a Monday, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's a bit tougher to pull off.
I do want to give a shout out to the top 3 ranked players from our cup, and those are TSC Dragon, way to represent with the SwitchCast initials there.
Right.
J Pizzle and Shell Shock. You guys really bring it up there. I was just behind in 4th place there, but these got all of them dusted me so badly. So it's like. I literally felt like the best of the worst. There's a big gap in skill between those people and everyone me and below. So it was really fun all the same. And, we also tried it out shells only.
Ooh. Oh, well, I guess that makes even more sense with 200cc, right?
We did the 200cc. And yes, we had the shells only, and I really like that a lot. I think that is the most madcap way, just everything flying, weapons only, everything hurts, no bullet bills, no stars that, like that. It's just very focused on aiming, and if someone gets ahead, I guess it also means that the leaders are a little harder to catch up to since you don't have those bullet bills, and the purple shells don't come exponentially more often. So
you mean the blue shells?
That's what I mean. Yeah, the blue shells. But yes, it was still pretty intense, and I think that's my preferred way to play. 200cc is insane. I don't know why we didn't do it before, and people were really thrown off by the backwards courses.
Yeah, it really is, because even when you play a lot of Mario Kart, you kind of get a bit of a muscle memory for the stages you're more familiar with. Mirroring that really throws it off, and even if it's the same stage, just the mirror effect, it's not quite what you expect.
Definitely. So I want to give a quick call out, because like I said, we're going to do more of these, and I want to schedule at least one event per week. But I can't run one event per week. I can usually find time. And plus, I don't own every game that we might want to actually run something for. So I'm actually going to give a quick call out to the community for anyone who is willing and responsible enough to run a competition, just something simple and casual in a game like ARMS. And if you want to take responsibility for making the room, calling out to people, making an event on Facebook, that kind of stuff, I'll help you. Definitely contact me. You can email me, KC@SwitchCast, or just go in the Discord chat and chat with me there, and we'll work on promoting it and how we should run it just to get things going. Because, like I said, I want to get one event a week, but I'm definitely going to need some help. If anyone in the community wants to pitch something, whether it's Puyo Tetris or ARMS, whatever, let me know. Let's get this going. All right, so that is all of our meta stuff. We have a lot. Obviously, we have Bayonetta to talk about, and I asked the community what games they want to buy in the future, what they're really hyped about, so I can't wait to talk about that. And, of course, the news. So why don't we go right into our game time and start talking about that?
Let's do it.
All right, JV, so you have been sharpening your claws and tearing into Bayonetta. It's, what is it, 1 and 2 combined into this?
Yes, 1 and 2 combined. You can buy them separately, but I did pick up the Bayonetta 1 and 2 bundle, and I believe that is totally worth it.
Okay. Now remember, talk to me as if I'm someone who has never played this series before, because I haven't, and maybe someone who doesn't know what this series is even about.
Right. So I'll definitely start from the beginning, essentially. This game is pretty crazy, Casey. Mm-hmm. So, Bayonetta is, an action beat-em-up hack-and-slash game made by Platinum Games, which, in my opinion, is a really top-notch example of how ridiculous and awesome this genre is like. Mm-hmm. So, if you guys don't know who Platinum Games are, they were formed by many of the original members of Clover Studios, which was shut down by Capcom in, I believe it was 2006. So they gave us amazing games like Beautiful Joe, Okami, God Hand, a lot of really popular games.
Oh, those are some beautiful games, yeah.
Yeah. And what all the heads of Clover moved on to Platinum Games, and then they released even more crazy beat-em-up style games like Mad World, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, Wonderful 101, and even recently their most critically acclaimed game so far, Nier Automata, or Nier Automata. Yeah, so which is really popular nowadays. With that in mind, if you know anything about Platinum Games' style, they can be summed up in one word, Casey.
What's that?
Ridiculous.
Okay.
They are super well known for their over-the-top styling and presentation, campy and fun dialogue with really weird story directions, and just a lot of intentionally, sometimes very Japanese craziness.
Okay, I could dig it.
Yeah, and Bayonetta is no exception, and honestly, I feel like it's peak Platinum Games at its finest. So, that just setting the tone. This is Platinum Games. This is them in a nutshell. So, for Bayonetta, this game is about, the titular character, Bayonetta. She's an Umbral Witch who harnesses spiritual magic through her hair. Mm-hmm. Which allows her to summon demons, to attack and kill her opponents. And most of her opponents are angels.
Okay.
And, holy creatures.
Did she tick off the Archangel in a eating contest or something?
Well, she's an Umbra Witch and she summons demons, so
she's just naturally the heavens hate her.
Yeah, right. She's part of an organization or a coven, I guess.
Okay, that makes sense. No, but my question is always: is she a good witch or a bad witch?
She's a naughty witch.
Okay.
And right off the bat, I want to set up the expectation that this game is an M-rated game. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Bayonetta, the game, contains lots of hypersexual references, near and sometimes complete nudity.
Really?
Direct calls for killing angels, and often, a lot of grotesque occurrences made visible on screen.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, did you not expect that, Casey?
No, I just thought from what I've seen, I just okay, so she's a super sexy witch girl with guns in her shoes, and she fights demons, but I didn't think it would act I didn't realize it went into the M rating. I just thought it was over the top crazy demons and stuff, but they wouldn't be graphic in any way. I just like Devil May Cry. Like that's how I pictured it. Like Devil May Cry had creepy, crazy stuff in it, but I didn't see like, lots of blood and guts or anything like that.
Right. There's definitely lots of gore, though it's like demonic gore, so it's cartoony.
Uh-huh.
It's killing angels, so that might be touchy.
Okay, I can see figures. That. Yeah, rubbing some people the wrong way.
However, this all seems really crude and crass, though I have to say, Casey, just the sheer level of charm that's exhumed from this game really sells it.
Okay, alright.
I'm usually not a big fan of over-sexualization in video games, and you know that. And when Bayonetta initially came out, I thought her character design was kind of like a really big attempt at fan service to appeal to the type of player base that latches into really shallow and lewd characters.
Well, that was also part of, like, I just always thought she was like, okay, so she's a bit of fan service. I really don't know anything about her characterization, though, so I really reserve judgment on that personally. But
right. But that was my primary hesitation when I saw that this was a game that came out. And I actually didn't play it when it first came out on the PlayStation. But once it was brought over to the Wii U by Nintendo, that was what kind of piqued my interest. So I picked it up on the Wii U. Yeah, that's actually an interesting story, Casey. Did you know that Bayonetta 2 wasn't actually going to be made, but Nintendo stepped in, brought the franchise to the Wii U, and really helped publish it themselves? Did you know that?
I was not aware. Interesting.
Yeah.
So they went out of their way to bring this over to the Nintendo systems.
Yeah. Platinum Games themselves even said Bayonetta wasn't that popular, and Bayonetta 2 wasn't going to happen if it wasn't for Nintendo.
Crazy.
So
wow.
that kind of blew my mind, and I was wondering why Nintendo would be so interested in bringing this character and this franchise to their platform.
Well, you've made a point every time, like we've seen a game where Nintendo's tried to kind of come out of their shell as just being known for the very safe, very family-friendly style of games, which they obviously still have plenty of. But we have definitely noticed them making an effort to show that, look, we can cover every kind of game. We don't have to just be, the one thing that us for. Know that we can accommodate all gamer types.
Right. Well, like even considering something like Xenoblade Chronicles, which is not something that Nintendo really does or ever has approached before. And this is the same thing. And yeah, so I went in with a lot of skepticism and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like it because of just the portrayal of the character. And the thing is, Bayonetta as a character herself, I actually really love how she's portrayed in
Okay,
this.
How is that?
Yeah.
What kind of personality is, like, what's her motivation here?
Well, the story is kind of a bit nonsensical. Right now, she's a kind of an outcast witch. At least in the beginning of the game, she's an outcast witch, and she's defending herself from angels who want to send her to hell.
Okay.
She has contracts with demons and is able to summon them, but in order to appease the demons, she has to use angels as a way to, I guess, ritually appease those hellish creatures. Okay,
so she's kind of just keeps digging herself a deeper grave, this sounds like.
I mean, she's very powerful, so it's not like she can't handle it.
Okay.
But she's like, that's her goal. She's Umbra witch who kills angels.
Okay.
But overall, it's a really cleverly written character, and it's totally it's hard to say it PG. Like she's totally BA. Like she's so awesome, and there are actually a surprising amount of layers to her depth as you explore her backstory and relationships in the game. You see clips of her and she's like whipping her, doing like her dance poses, striking a pose while she's shooting guns from her feet. But as you progress through the story, there's a lot of character moments that endear you to her beyond just a femme fatale type figure.
Okay. Now, how does the gameplay itself play out? So what type of game would you call this?
Yeah, this is absolutely 100% hack and slash game. And honestly, the gameplay itself is what truly makes this game shine. And as I mentioned previously, it screams Platinum Games. So it has a lot of standard aspects of a standard hack and slash game. You run around stages, you dodge attacks, and you press the buttons to just attack with your weapon. You have one attack that's just your melee weapon, and another attack that's your ranged gun weapon. However, each motion that you perform feels incredibly fluid and on point. So there are hardly ever moments when you feel like you're cheated out of a win because of the control scheme. Everything feels fluid, responsive, and it's a testament to how well thought out the fundamentals of this game are. Throughout the game, you learn more and more mechanics that allow you to expand your aerial game, or focus on bullet attacks, or focus on a specific weapon type, etc., etc. And they're all doled out at a pretty satisfying rate. So just as soon as you start mastering one aspect of your weapon, something else is thrown in that you can take into consideration, or you open up a new weapon type that might approach enemies in a different way. And I think the pacing of the game in that sense also is pretty commendable. Now, there are two mechanics that I do want to dig a bit deeper into, though, and they're actually pretty iconic to the game.
Just want to ask, do you change weapons like on the fly, or do you have to like pick one?
You don't necessarily change weapons on the fly. It's you set up a loadout that you go through. Mm-hmm. Yes, and there are the two mechanics that I really wanted to cover, and that's the witch time mechanic. Have you heard of that witch time mechanic?
I've heard the term. Is it just like bullet time in the game or something?
Kind of. Okay, so whenever Bayonetta, the character, performs a last-minute dodge to an attack, she activates a temporary effect called Witch Time. And when this is activated, time temporarily slows down, and all your enemies are slowed down while you are sped up. And this then gives you a small window to reposition yourself, to set up a new string of attacks, avoid a huge enemy entirely, or target a different enemy altogether. So, Witch Time adds so much depth to the game, since as a mechanic, it really provides you with a lot of strategic options during the encounter. And it's something that pushes a sort of rhythm to the game that encourages you to dodge at the very last minute, allowing you to combo more attacks and get more stuff done. And it's really a super satisfying mechanic, and while you do end up pulling it off pretty regularly throughout the game, it does feel good to perform each time. Have you ever seen a video of this mechanic, Casey?
I assume I've watched some videos of the game.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So whenever you dodge, the whole world kind of has a warped purple color. You see Bayonetta like sidestep or cartwheel to the side.
It's kind of like Beautiful Joe in the slow-mo time.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. Except in a more 3D plane, and it really the way it's portrayed is really, really cool and satisfying. Mm-hmm. And this is a kind of a big part that makes it a step above standard hack and slashes, where you're just spamming buttons, trying to kill enemies around you, and that's it.
Are they pretty tough, the enemies? They have like a lot. What kind of tactics do they come at you with? You have lots of different, challenges.
Yeah, the different enemies are, they're just pretty standard enemies. Some are huge hulking creatures that charge at you. Some are just smaller that have really annoying movements. Some of them like throw things and that type of stuff. And it's not incredibly unique or innovative. I think the way you approach combat is what's most interesting, as opposed to the diversity of enemies.
Gotcha.
The other mechanic that I wanted to bring up are called torture attacks.
Torture attacks.
Yeah, there are even more special abilities that you use when your magic gauge is fully charged, which you charge by doing more combos and attacks. These are essentially finishers that you would employ once they become available, and that allows you to deal like a massive spike of damage to essentially clinch the kill of an enemy once you're about to kill them.
How often do you have to whip those out? I mean, do you get those like several times in a fight, or is it just something you get a couple times per like stage?
You get them pretty regularly. You get them a couple times throughout the stage, and whenever you're ready to perform a torture attack, you would press the two attack buttons at the same time, and that triggers a bit of a mini game where you have to either spam buttons or press a button sequence. And once you complete that sequence, Bayonetta does an animation that performs the torture attack itself.
Okay.
And these are, incredibly stylish kills. And, just like how it's named, Bayonetta essentially summons a torture device to kill your target.
Okay. So it's trying to earn its M rating in every way, shape it can.
Yeah, but it's it's cartoony, so you can sometimes see like a guillotine or chainsaws ripping at a demon or angel monster that you're trying to fight. One really cool one that I think you get pretty early on is the Iron Maiden, where once you finish this off, Bayonetta summons an open Iron Maiden behind the enemy, and you just stylishly kick them into it. And then bam, closes on, explodes with, I guess, purple or black gore, and, then you move on and get scored with that.
Very cool, very cool. Now, are all these easy to kind of pull off, or did it take you a while to get the hang of all these attack mechanics?
Well, it's a lot to take in at first, and if you want to approach the game with some strategic depth, it does take a bit of getting used to, but most of it is pretty intuitive, and while you're fighting, there really is a flow to the game that feels intuitive. So you go into a stage, you see enemies, you attack them with melee attacks or your ranged pistol heals attacks, and then every time you dodge an enemy, you go into a witch time, and you reposition and you attack again, you attack more enemies, go into witch time, boom, once you build up enough, you go into the flow and start performing a torture attack, and then, it becomes a cycle like that.
Okay.
It feels really good, and it may take a bit of time to figure out what the controls are, but it's honestly not a difficult game to learn.
All right. So what about what's the stage design like? Are these very linear, just like, are you walking to the right? Are they 3D worlds you explore?
Yeah. It's a 3D plane, but the game isn't really based on exploration. All of the stages are very linear, and you're getting from one point to the other. Okay. That's just how the game works, and essentially you're going through the stage. Once you get to a boss fight, that it triggers a boss, and then boom.
All right, tell me about these boss fights. How climactic are they?
I honestly, some of them are so crazy and ridiculous. I don't want to spoil them.
Tell us a little bit about. Well, you pick one of the early ones.
Right. So one of the boss fights, or a scene that you just start off with immediately, is you going down a falling clock tower, and in the middle of the falling clock tower, you're fighting enemies that spawn against you, and Bayonetta is essentially jumping from one falling clock tower to another while all the stylish music is playing, and in the end you're battling against a gigantic 3-headed holy angelic beast the size of a skyscraper, and you just and Bayonetta herself just laughs at that, and you do your thing, climbing up its limbs and attacking it, or summoning your demon creatures to attack it as well. The scale of the boss fights in this game are huge and over the top, just like that.
Does it feel comparable to something like God of War? Is it something along those lines?
Right. It's pretty comparable to that. The overall gameplay is, still a hack and slash, so it does have that comparison. But the styling of it, like the mini scenes where Bayonetta strikes a pose to use her hair magic to summon a demon, that is part of the style of the game, and that really makes the boss fights fun when you fight them and beat them.
Now, you keep mentioning summoning the demons. Is that just like how she does her normal attacks, or is that a thing in the game where you actually summon these things that do stuff?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So whenever you perform an attack, or a standard combo, the last attack you do or summons a portal that summons a part of a demon creature to punch or kick.
Okay.
At the end of each boss fight, she does a full dance and uses all of her hair magic to summon a fuller creature that comes and attacks the enemy with a giant mouth, or the actual full creature.
She summons Exodia for the win.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. So she essentially, during her normal combo, she summons the different limbs of Exodia. And once you beat a boss and reach the climax of a fight, she summons uses all her magic to summon the full body of the demon to kill the enemy. And that is, a spectacle in and of itself, and just the scale of how it gets is part of what makes this game fun and surprising.
Okay. Is 1 and 2 pretty much similar in all respects, or do you know if there's anything big that gets upgraded or changed to the number 2?
Honestly, it's good that they lumped the two together, since a lot of it is very similar. There's a few mechanic tweaks between each game, but they're so minimal that it's something that you don't necessarily notice, and this all can be lumped into one big game.
Okay.
Now, there are some things that I do want to talk about, like the music throughout the game has a really upbeat feminine techno style that I actually really dig.
What is feminine techno?
Like, it's like, has little, flourishes and female vocals that exude, classy femininity while still being really upbeat and actiony.
Okay.
And each of the games has a Sinatra remix associated with them.
Really? Okay.
So her main theme in Bayonetta 1 is a techno remix of Fly Me to the Moon. And the second one is a techno remix of Moon River. And every time that plays, it's like, it really does get you pumped and hyped to play it. To keep kicking butt and just being Bayonetta.
Maybe she's a damned member of the Rat Pack.
Well, but it's the music's not jazzy. It's a full on techno remix of that song.
Well, that's why they kicked her out of the Rat Pack. They weren't into that music then.
Okay, so an X. Okay, because you expect something like Moon River to be slow, like Moon River. But it's like a techno upbeat version, like Moon River. Yeah, so it's really. It's really fun, and since the first one is Fly Me to the Moon and the second game is Moon River, I'm trying to think of what moon-based Sinatra song they're going to do for the third game. Do you know any?
My family would be ashamed that I don't know the names of more Sinatra songs, but...
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be Sinatra, but I think a lot of them have been covered by... These two have been are Sinatra covered, at least. Oh! I just thought, Blue Moon. Is that Sinatra?
No.
It's a jazz thing, right?
That was a doo-wop song. That would go into the doo-wop era.
Blue Moon.
Bomba da bomba dom ba dom bomba da bomba da bomba dang a dang dang a dang a dong ding blue moon. That's how it goes.
Is that it, really?
That's Blue Moon, yeah.
Billie Holiday. No,
dip.
Frank Sinatra did make a cover of that song.
Well, I'm sure he did a lot.
Yes.
He might have taken a version of it and just really mellowed it out, because it's like a super upbeat kind of thing.
But anyway, so yeah, I think the music is super upbeat and it really plays to that, the aura that this game presents. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. And on a technical aspect, I did play this game on the Wii U, and I noticed that there was a lot of slowdown during some really hectic moments. And on the Switch, I felt like it had a very steady frame rate, and the controls are really responsive as well. So there is that technical upgrade that benefits people who really want to be on point with this game. And I think that's something worth noting. Mm-hmm. I did notice that it was kind of harder to tell what's going on when you're playing in handheld mode.
Oh, a little hectic with everything going on the screen?
Yeah. Mm. And I did like that they added Nintendo specific stuff to the Wii U version and the Switch version. So they had Nintendo based character costumes like Link or Peach or Fox or you
could dress up Bayonetta as Peach or something?
Yeah, you can. She even has the frilly dress or the Fox outfit. And I remember whenever I played this game and there were people who might not be so on the nose about something that could potentially be sexualized, I made her wear the Metroid, the Samus's suit.
Zero suit or Varia suit?
Varia suit, yeah.
Okay.
so yeah, I think that's how it is. But what's even cooler was if you're playing as Peach, every single demon you summon, every limb you summon, and then the full attack is actually a large Bowser.
That would be my guess. It would be a piece of Bowser. That would be all the more support for my theory that Bowser and Peach are truly destined soulmates.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But there's a lot of care and love put into this game. It didn't feel like it was meant to be titillating to the people who are playing. I think it was a character choice that they decided, and it really gave her something pretty unique to base around.
Okay.
And overall, I would highly recommend this game to anyone who can embrace that over-the-top and campy and ridiculous setting. This game is a lot of fun, and I think there's a lot of fun to be had here.
All right, sounds cool. So yeah, I guess we're also going to be looking forward to Bayonetta 3 then when it comes out as well.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to know where the story goes from here, because Bayonetta 1 had a bit of a story, and it was pretty, not that comprehensible, but stuff happened and it was cool. Bayonetta 2 added a lot more characterization that I thought was really great and made me want to see more of this character in a different or even expanded setting. So Bayonetta 3 is something I'm looking forward to a lot.
All right, great review. Let's go into the news rundown and talk about what's happening with the Switch. All right, news rundown, and here are your headlines. I thought this first story would appeal to you, JV.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I'm a bit of a fan of the Shin Megami Tensei franchise, and now they've finally confirmed that Shin Megami Tensei 5 has finally reached full-scale development on the Switch, which means Megaten's coming to the Switch, and I'm really hyped. Have you ever played one of these games, Casey?
I've played some of them. It's not for me. I am not a fan of the SMT series as a whole.
Is it because it's kind of dark and gloomy?
It's that. I'm not really a fan of the general mechanics of the the whole demon recruitment and just kind of
Gotcha.
The way you interact with them to recruit certain ones. I don't like the first person dungeon exploring usually. That doesn't appeal to me. Yeah.
Gotcha. I know there's that's part of the reason why the Persona series is a bit more popular than the standard franchise. It's because it's a bit closer to a standard third person, or a bit closer to a standard JRPG than the mainline Shin Megami Tensei games.
Right. I mean, I played a few of them on the 3DS, and I gave them a good shot, and it's just they were decent, and but it isn't for me.
Right, yeah, it's totally understandable. For me, I'm personally pretty excited to see at least something like this come to the Switch. It's something that I'm looking forward to.
In Norway, apparently Nintendo's pre-order policy for digital games has been ticking off some government officials.
Interesting.
They've been getting some complaints and have actually been requested by the Norwegian Consumer Council to end their practice where basically if you pre-order a game on the eShop, you're locked in. There is no canceling that pre-order before the game comes out. So, and that's just something that, it even warns you before you make the deal that, this is sealed. And
right.
So they've been kind of ruffling some feathers, and so Nintendo has not really made any policy change yet, but we'll see. I can see that. When it's a game that you don't yet own, I mean, we even said that there should be a refund. We've talked about that before, that there should be some sort of, even when you've gotten the game, you have an hour or maybe a day to say, no, I did not want this. For shorter games, that might not work. As a short game, you could probably beat it in a day. But I think that there should be some sort of fail-safe of whoops, I accidentally ordered this, or whoops, no, this is not the game I thought it was.
It's just more consumer-friendly policies, and I kind of understand how this is going, but we'll see whether Nintendo takes action or not.
So you liked port of L.A. Noire, yes? That you were very happy with that?
Yeah,
yes.
I was very happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like Virtuos, which is the company responsible for the LA Noire port, is actually been confirmed to be the company in charge of the Dark Souls remastered port coming to Switch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty reassuring, and that was a pretty tough graphically, and though not as mechanically intense as a game like Dark Souls, so that still might be a challenge for them, but it is interesting to see that they've got a little bit of a experience with something maybe that was a little lighter weight to work on before working on the big boys for Switch.
Well, honestly, LA Noire looks pretty great on its own, and it is an open world game, so there's usually quite a bit to render. I think this is good news. I think I believe
think so.
A studio like I believe a studio like Virtuoso would probably be able to handle the Dark Souls remastered port very well.
Okay. And we also got confirmation that we should expect a few more ports from Panic Button, who are the ones who were responsible for Doom and Rocket League, and they are also currently on Wolfenstein 2. But just during some interviews with Gama Sutra, they kind of hinted that they've been happy with the results of the games they've released so far, and so they're already kind of lining up the next things. So a lot of, I know people have always kind of, we've gotten a lot of mixed feelings about Nintendo getting these ports of games that are more popular maybe on other systems in the past, but at least they seem to be done by companies that know what they're doing, and so far they've been pretty much hits.
Yeah, honestly, I can't think of any non-sports, non-EA title that really didn't come over to the Switch very well. I guess Rhyme didn't come over to the Switch well, but most of these big titles like Doom, LA Noire, Rocket League, they transferred over pretty well. Rocket League might have a couple performance issues, but overall, it's still a good experience.
Yeah. And lastly, did you get to check out they had some new Labo videos this week?
No, I didn't get to see these.
So yeah, they had a bunch of little closer looks at some of the features of the Labo games that are coming out. And some of the features were pretty cool. They showed, first they showed some people with more hands-on actually plucking out the cardboard and folding it up. And they showed the instructions and just how clear they are and how they animate everything that you have to do step by step. You can even go into the screen and zoom in on parts or rewind and rotate the diagram so you could see what you're doing from every angle.
Right.
They even show you the inside apparently in the thing, so you could see what it looks like and how it seems like they were emphasizing that you're going to know how this works. It's not just supposed to be a thing that you build and it just does its thing. They want you to kind of get that little engineering insight into how things work inside of it, and they'll show you all the little, like, what's hitting the screen or what's hitting this button, and so they do seem to be pushing that educational angle for this thing here or there. We also got to see a few more little games here and there. It was pretty cool. Motorcycle racing game I saw, and they showed you a little bit about and some ideas for the Toy-Con garage and some of the little cool tools. I like that they showed a piggy bank that actually knew what coins you were putting into it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
that's actually really cool.
And all the little customization items, they're just showing off like a lot of the weird ways that you can, make your Joy-Cons unique.
I really like where they're going with this type of video and where they're going with Labo in general. I feel like it's something that would inspire kids to maybe even become engineers in the future. It's really really inspiring.
Any of these updates you want to take on?
Sure. So it looks like Rocket League is getting some DC Superheroes DLC packs in the future. So a lot of new cars that are DC superhero themed, like Cyborg, Batman, obviously, Green Lantern, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, the Flash-based car, I guess.
Right. Yes. And it looks like these all go over. I forgot if there were different cars in the game or if they're all just identical performance-wise.
There are different cars, but they are identical performance-wise. So this is primarily cosmetic.
Okay, so these are cosmetic because they seem to list the styles or the decals for certain car models. So I'm guessing it's like the Batmobile goes on top of this, car model or something like that. It looks like
Right, and then a player banner is something that you hang behind you. It's not anything that'll give you a competitive edge if you don't know anything about Rocket League. They're very particular about making sure all of the new add-ons and bonuses they have are cosmetic. And
Very
while
cool.
this does cost $3.99, if you're a fan of DC and fan of Rocket League, I think it would be fun to have.
Yeah, it's a lot of different options. $4 and that's going to come out March 5th. So, yep. Next up, we've got Minecraft, the Bedrock update. This will be adding the cross-platform ability that we've been talking about, and it seems to be giving a performance boost to the system on Switch, where people have been reporting that the game runs a lot smoother. It can, preload a bit more blocks at a time or chunks at a time. So it just makes for a much more faster, smoother experience while playing as well. So anyone who's been looking for a bit more of a seamless integration with the Switch version, this might be the update for you.
Yeah, I think it's good that they're making sure all of the platforms are as standardized as possible. It looks like that's the philosophy that they're going with starting soon.
Yeah. The Xenoblade Chronicles update that we mentioned last week, that actually got postponed. That will be delayed until March 2nd. So, so we've got to wait a little longer for the... I've been hitting more of this in the game. I know that they said that certain quests they made completable at any point, and I'm not sure if that was part of this update or a previous one, but I've been hitting a couple of missions.
Quests?
Yeah, a couple of quests that maybe it wasn't really necessarily... I guess I could technically do it at any point in the story, but it's just annoying when like the final quest in a chain requires a certain character to have maxed out all their like skills unlocked or all their just like something that you have to really grind a certain character out or a blade out before you can finish it. And I was like, I just worked on this forever. Why can't I just finish this just because I need that one more Titan wisdom skill point?
Yeah, luckily a lot of that stuff is optional, so it's not anything that's a pure blocker for the game. But I definitely agree that it can be a bit tricky.
We have a Doom update that's adding motion controls to the game.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people in the Discord chat were starting to pick up Doom again to check out all these new updates. I think
Splatoon has really sold people on motion controls for FPSs.
Yeah,
even though that's TPS, but
yeah, but still, I think you're right. Especially people on Nintendo platforms, they're going to be more receptive to motion controls in general because that's how we've been primed by Nintendo. And Doom adding motion controls might be an additional layer of sensitivity that would help people be more accurate. And lastly, so they are releasing a new Rime patch, which should include a lot of quality of life changes, like stabilized FPS, optimized cape and hair physics, better texture quality. A lot of the issues that I had in my original review, it seems like they're fixing a lot of that, and I'm really excited to hear that they're doing.
Very cool. Yeah, I know that was the big thing to hang up, and it might be too little too late, I feel like, for this game's success on the Switch, but hopefully it will make the game feel like it wasn't a bad purchase for those who did get it and maybe were a little put off. Honestly, because this could come out and maybe you'll load it back up and be like, okay, now I'll feel like beating this game. Whereas before, I feel like a lot of people did put it down because they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think the fundamental game of Rime is actually pretty compelling. And it was just disappointing to play the game not really experiencing it to its fullest because of all these technical limitations that they're resolving on this patch.
Yeah, if you get a chance, maybe give it a shot during the week just to see how the patch works and let us know if it smooths out the gameplay.
That sounds good. I'll check that out for you all.
All right. And just want to give a quick note. If anyone has any news tips or links to share that you think might be good for our news section, definitely drop us a line. You can either come to our Discord group and leave a link in the news channel there, or you can email me directly, kc@theswitchcast.com. All right, moving on to new releases. JV, tell us what is coming out in this coming week.
All right, so on February 22nd, today, Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus is coming out. Ooh, I am excited for this, KC, because I love Pac-Man Championship Edition.
That is a pretty hype game, and I it's my favorite thing. Actually, I play something similar to that. I go to the barcade near work every so often, and they have one of those big
Pac-Man versus the
4-player one that's like a big
Yeah.
flat table console one, and those are always really fun. But this is that hyped up even more.
Even more. It's a faster paced, almost Geometry Wars-esque levels of frantic, and I dig the modernization of Pac-Man like this. It's great. Mm-hmm. So that's coming out today. There's also Typoman Revised, Hollow. Oh, Neo Geo's coming out with a Magical Drop 3. That's actually one of my favorite competitive puzzle games.
Oh, that's another one of those. Okay, I can get from the name Drop. Yeah, all right. So it's a
Magical Drop 3.
Like a Puyo Puyo kind of matching dropping puzzle gemmy game.
Well, gems are dropping from the top of the screen, and you pull one color from one column and throw it up to another column. And if you hit number of objects, it disappears and clears it out. And then as you do that, it sends junk blocks to the enemy. And, it's a versus puzzle game, and I have
no idea what anything you just said. So moving on.
All right. Either way, so the next ones are Superola and the Lost Burgers, Dragon Sinker, Membrane, Ace of Seafood, Radiation Island, Spacecats with Lasers, and Arcade Archives Heroic Episode. Whew. On February 23rd, we have Tokitori 2, Twin Robots Ultimate Edition, The Final Station. February 27th, we have Payday 2. Oh, that's pretty interesting.
That one I'm hyped for.
Yeah, a lot of people in Discord were mentioning getting some co-op action going for it.
I might pick that one up because I feel like that's a game that is worth me.
Co-op.
Game. I like the co-op. I like and I haven't played the series before, but this sounds like a great time to give it a shot.
Yeah, some people were a bit skeptical about it because essentially the original developers kind of dropped it after a lot of bug reports from the community. But hopefully with this new. With this new iteration on the Switch, there won't be as many bugs. All that's been addressed, and
I did hear some stories, people complaining about it being an older version of the game. And I don't know if that is maybe to avoid some bugs that were added later or not, or if that's just for the performance issues on the Switch that might occur with I don't know, but I'll see when I give this a shot.
Yeah, and overall, the fundamental gameplay of Payday 2, I think, is so much fun co-op. Mm-hmm. And also Streets of Red Devil's Dare Deluxe on February 27th. And lastly, on February 28th, we have Bridge Constructor Portal.
All right. Down the pipe, we have A Whole New World, which is coming out next month.
A Whole New World.
Oh, yeah, this is actually, that's whole with an HOLE. This looks like, honestly, the way it kind of looks like 8-bit Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It has this very strange feel of it's just an action game with Mega Man-y style graphics and a cool little dude.
Ooh.
But you're throwing potions and you flip to this upside down world sometimes, so you're basically playing reverse with the character jumping on the ceiling, but the stage and the environments look like very Castlevania-esque with backgrounds like that and big giant dragon skulls and demons and all that. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it does.
Castle of Heart coming out March 1st. This is the side-scrolling action game where you play a knight that's slowly turning to stone unless you kill things, so you constantly have to be battling or you'll just die from inactivity.
Yeah.
Subsurface Circular. That is this actually is interesting. This is a text-based adventure game. It is very conversation-based. It looks like you're playing a robot, and you will be navigating through long conversations where you're going to be choosing what to say to other robots who are, being sent to do work for the humans in the city, and I guess some sort of mystery or investigations spawn from that.
Honestly, the game looks pretty compelling, and the trailer itself even ends with a saying, "Avoid spoilers," which is pretty ominous.
Yeah, no, I dig it. It looks like I said, it's purely seems to be based on the story, and it's not an action game. It's all this discovery through investigation and talking.
Yeah.
March 31st, we have Yonder, the Cloudcatcher Chronicles. Possibly, this is just rumored because there was a leak, so to speak, on Amazon. They had it listed along with box art for the game, so we're pretty confident this is coming out, but that's not 100% assured yet. Trailblazers coming sometime this year. This is actually kind of Splatoon meets F-Zero. It's a team-based racing game because when you're running across the track, you're also painting wherever you run over with your color, and allies who run over your team's color go faster, but you guys will try to overrun each other and whatever. But you're going to try to control the parts of the track that are important with your color, and then use that to boost your way through. And it has dynamically generated tracks, so it's always a different racetrack, which is something I haven't seen before in one of these games, and that sounds pretty interesting.
That does sound like a pretty cool mechanic. I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yes. At Sundown, this is another of these 4-player arena shooter type games, and this one just looks like... Yeah, this one looks like it has a lot of, it's multiplayer versus kind of like, deathmatch style games with a lot of cool little different modes. I think this is the one I saw with, let me just double check. This one had a cool mode. Oh, yes, it has a version where it's deathmatch in the dark, where you can't actually see anyone, but you can just see like their bullets and I don't know, crazy stuff going on, like trains going through the stages and just wiping people out. That's coming in spring. We also got Varian's, another one of these games, 4-player arena games, but the twist with this one is that you can only shoot other players with ricocheted shots. You cannot shoot directly at your opponents. You have to bounce off the walls in order to hit them.
Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn is confirmed to be coming out this year. Urban Trial Playground, April 5th. The Lost Child is in summer. What was this one? Oh, this is weird. This is like supposedly a Cthulhu-inspired, it looks like a first-person JRPG style game with a lot of Bishonen-looking characters. So I don't know how Cthulhu is, actually.
Well, it has Cthulhu in it, but it also has other eldritch creatures. But
it has the Cthulhu pantheon in there. But I feel like any game that calls Cthulhu evil does not actually get the point of the Lovecraft story. Yeah, that they're not evil. They're just indifferent. And they are as evil to us as humans are to squirrels. We kill them when we're doing stuff, but it's not because we hate them. It's just they're in the way of our wood.
That's definitely a good point. And and this is very anime, which I don't think I've ever really seen Cthulhu rendered in an anime style. So
yeah, that's true.
It's very
Shining Resonance Refrain. That's for 2018. This is a first of the Shining series I've seen coming to the Switch. And have you ever played the Shining series before?
No, I have not.
This is I used to play this on a few different systems, mostly back like Dreamcast, I want to say, or Sega Saturn. They have done a lot of different genres of games with them, but they're very solid RPGs in general. And this one has a very good musical theme. I see all the characters are like, she has like an axe that she plays as a violin, one of the characters, and a lot of bardic kind of looking costumes. So it's already up my alley.
Yeah, I could definitely tell.
Mega Man Legacy Collections 1 and 2 have been confirmed on May 22nd as a whole bundle deal, which is pretty cool. That was the one that we didn't think we were getting a while back, and people were upset, but we are getting it now.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Nippon Marathon is coming fall 2018. This is a game I think could be very fun for multiplayer. It's kind of like one of those like Takeshi's Castle or old Ninja Warrior type competitions.
Yeah, what was is it MXC, which is the American dub of Takeshi's Castle?
Yes, right, exactly. It was Extreme Elimination Challenge. And, this one is kind of like that. You're all 4 characters are running through crazy obstacle courses, diving off of Ferris wheels or whatever, and trying to get to the end first. It looks pretty fun.
It seems incredibly quirky.
Okay. I Am the Hero is a side-scrolling brawler kind of game with the pixely graphics. Looks pretty fun and fast-paced. Kind of also reminds me of a Beautiful Joe style game. Those Who Remain is another first-person survival horror or psychological horror kind of game. Looks like Duck Game, which looks like a 8-bit Smash Brothers with ducks and just more like weapon-based and all sorts of crazy shooting each other sort of stuff going on. Okuno-ka, which is Okuno-ka, which is a one of those super hard platformer, hard as nails kind of like platformer games. You know, the ones like a Super Meat Boy style sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just because it's interesting, I wanted to note that they have a Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia was announced to be coming on October 23rd. So if anyone wants to get a book full of all the Mario lore they can possibly cram onto their shelf, this might be a cool little collector's item to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, are you ready for the Community Pulse, sir?
Let's do it.
All right, Community Pulse. This week we asked the listeners, since we feel like we're at a interesting point in this year's game cycle, we want to know what the next big game that you are planning to buy or that you're really hyped for. What's the, after we just got Bayonetta this week, what's the next big thing? What are you really looking to buy? And so let's hear what you guys answered.
All right, so from Elm on Twitter, he says, besides the really big games we know are coming, but not nearly when, I'm really hyped for Mario Aces. Some of the Mario sports games were great multiplayer titles, and I have the feeling that they make something good for the Switch. I think cool. Mario Aces is something I'm excited for too, and there has been a lot of mention for Mario Aces being a big multiplayer Discord game, so I'm looking forward to seeing people hop in and play that.
Oh, that's a pretty good point. Yeah, it's a good Discord kind of, communal enjoyment competition game, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Jonathan Ober wrote, looking forward to the new Kirby game as I wanted something my family of 4 can play together that is easy enough for the younger kids and still fun for the adults. Kirby definitely falls into that category. I could see that. And there's the co-op and the competitive mode. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds with that there.
Yeah, I think that's probably really cool. Oh, so Edward Galvan said, I'm looking forward to picking up Dark Souls Remastered and playing it with other fellow SwitchCast members. I like the level of difficulty of the game and the exploration you need to do in order to discover the story. Yeah, apparently Dark Souls Remastered is including 6-player co-op multiplayer and a way for you to really group up with your friends intentionally. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Adam Bass wrote, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. It's a bit annoying because I bought all the DLC for the original and never even played the extra adventure maps. And yeah, there was a lot of those. But I never got Legends for 3DS, so there'll be a lot of extra content in the Switch version. Kirby looks good, but I'm gonna hold off for a bit since I still never beat the 3DS Kirby games and Return to Dreamland for Wii. Yeah, I'm actually also looking forward to Hyrule Warriors because I only played that at my friend's house on his Wii U, and we did the 2-player mode with the, he had the tablet, I was playing on the screen, and it was really fun to do that co-op. So I would be interested in that with all the extra content, and I just feel like I got a good taste of it, and I wouldn't mind. Also leading an army of cuckoos with the Linkle stages. Unforgettable.
That's pretty hilarious.
But he also echoes what we've heard about with a lot of games that came to Switch, and now my Amazon Echo is going off. In that it's a game that came on a Wii U, had all this DLC, and now people are kind of reluctant because they don't want to feel like they're buying it again, which I understand. But I think that's never really held too many people back as far as we've encountered so far.
Right, I definitely agree. So from Toonie, they said, I've been waiting for a long time for a new Animal Crossing. I hope they announce it soon in Switch because it's a game that I can be in 2 lives and I can make new friends. I love Animal Crossing. I do too, and it's something that they haven't officially announced on the Switch, but I'm hoping that they release one regardless.
Yeah, here's hoping for you, guy. Here's hoping for you. So, JD, what about you? What is the game that you are next most likely going to buy? What are you hyped for?
I'm probably going to buy all of them. I know that David is a huge Kirby fan, so Kirby Star Allies is 100% get, and we will be playing that co-op quite a bit. But personally, I'm looking forward to Dark Souls.
Okay, very good choice. Very good choice.
We've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World, and so I'm on that really hard, very accurate fighting co-op game kick. So Dark Souls Remastered would probably scratch that itch on the Switch as well.
I gotcha. The number one game I'm still waiting for, even though it looks like it's not going to come out till December, but Project Octopath is the game I'm most hyped for.
Of course you are.
Yes, but that's still a ways off. So it's the next game I will possibly really, really looking forward to. The next big game is Ys 8. Lacrimosa of Dana. That looks like, I like that it is that combination of an RPG with those Monster Hunter elements to it, and maybe it'll feed me a little bit of that Monster Hunter action while I wait for an actual Monster Hunter game to come out. Since you're enjoying your PlayStation version, go ahead, have your fun.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to get it in with this here, and I kind of like the style of this. And these games are very, very well regarded, and I haven't played one honestly since Super Nintendo, maybe, honestly. So, I played one on the Vita. So it's got some good pedigree. So I'd like to see how they handle this genre.
Yeah, totally.
So we have also one last thing I want to read off here. We have an email from Scott the Geek, and he has a concern that the lack of any means for users to back up their save games. And he says, with over 500 games released on the Switch and only so many hours in the day, I struggle to keep up and would honestly be more than satiated even if no more Switch games came out in 2018. Not that I'm asking for this, just saying, yeah. However, as I invest more and more hours and sweat into progressing through these games, some of which are quite epic, I progressively get more and more paranoid each time I pick up my Switch. What if something happens? What if I drop it? Or if it gets stolen? Or some random failure outside of my control? That is a fair concern.
Absolutely.
So you can't actually save these onto your memory card yet, huh?
No, it's an actual concern that I feel like is totally warranted and justified. It definitely is scary to think about losing your save files, because those are all hours and hours of experiences and memories that you formed with your Switch games. So
hey, I have put 100 hours plus into my Stardew Valley. If I lost that, I'd be devastated. Because I still plan to go back to that with future updates. I'm 80 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm not even done with that game yet. If I lost all that, now I'm kind of scared that I take this with me all the time. It got me scared, man.
Now you're a little nervous, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, luckily, it looks like Reggie Fils-Aimé said in an interview, "We're aware of this concern. Certainly, Nintendo is a consumer-oriented company, and we want to make our consumers happy. We're aware of the concern, and it's an area we're going to continue working on to make sure that we can alleviate some of those consumer fears of having a content-based issue." So it looks like at least Reggie is aware that this is something that the community is concerned about. Hopefully they are acting on it. I honestly don't doubt that they are. It just might not be a solution that's so easy to implement for them, but I feel like it's a no-brainer.
I think that's something I said when they finally launch the paid service. Cloud saves, I really feel are going to be a thing, and that would be an acceptable solution. And we're just waiting for the next big Nintendo Direct, and I think that's going to come with it when they start talking about the future of the Switch Online and when they update that app. I think that's going to be part of it.
I agree.
All right, shall we close out the show in our sacred traditional fashion?
Absolutely. Let's system switch.
All right, so my pick for System Switch this week for a game that I wish to come over to the Switch from something else. This is on Steam, and everyone knows that I'm a big fan of deck builder card games, right?
Yep.
And they just really are the best game for playing with a group of people casually, but still strategically. And I recently was just perusing one of my card shops and I saw a retail version of the card game Heart of Crown. Heart of Crown is mechanically, I will say, a all-round improved version of Dominion. If anyone knows what Dominion is, that is like the first really successful deck builder game, and it's really fun. I play it literally at least once a week still, and we've owned it for 10 years. We have piles of expansions for it. The only thing is they never made a good app for it. They made an app on iPhone a while back for Dominion, and it stunk. It was like just really done poorly. It was browser based of all things, and
Ugh.
I know, it was just awful all around. So that game has come and gone, and I don't think Dominion, sadly, I don't think Dominion has a chance to ever have a proper digital version. Like I always said, the Star Realms app is one of the best. That's the gold standard for how these card games should be dealt with. Heart of Crown is relatively new on the scene. Its Kickstarter wasn't that long ago. In fact, I remember bugging you about panicking whether I should back it or not. I passed because, as I mentioned, my friends and I, we all own every expansion to Dominion. We're really invested.
That's what you're going to play.
Yeah, I'm not going to get my friends to play a different, even if I said, like, it is mechanically better in a lot of ways, it's just, reinvesting and all that, and they might not care for the anime styling of it. And it does have really nice anime styling, though. It is the same artist as the Etrian Odyssey series, if anyone is familiar with those games. Yeah. And so, yeah, and it has this really cool mechanic where you're kind of like a political force in the background, and you're building up, your deck and your power and whatever strategy you have to gain money and hinder and sabotage your opponents. But at one point in the game, you have to pick which one of the successors to the throne you want to back. And once you pick that one, that princess, you're locked in, and that is, you get some little quick boon, but that is it. You're locked in, and this is the person you're trying to get on the throne, and then that one's gone for anyone else, and everyone else has to pick another person to try to back, and it adds this nice little asymmetric, power difference between all the players. They basically choose which power they want for the game based on the layout of cards that are available for that game. So anyway, I really enjoyed it. It has a really good Steam implementation that just recently got translated to English as well. So I think that it would be really great kind of card game to bring on there, especially after we learned last week that Hearthstone is not coming to Switch at all. So Heart of Crown, the deck builder.
Well, my system Switch choice is very different and probably a lot more well known than yours. My choice is Destiny. So as I've mentioned many times in past podcasts, I've been really into Monster Hunter World, and I've been playing primarily with co-op online multiplayer. Now, so this means I've really been in an online co-op kick lately, and a game like Destiny that allows for 4-player co-op multiplayer through dungeons and in a third person shooter genre would really be cool to have on the Nintendo Switch. I would love to have something like Destiny be co-opable even on a local setting where you can play and run through, dungeons and zones with your friends while sitting on the couch together. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Is that a game that do you feel that's a game that could be handled by the Switch well?
I would normally say no, but the Switch does handle Doom pretty well, so, it's not impossible.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it might be too technologically intensive for it to be on the Switch, but who knows what can happen.
All right, very cool, very cool. All right, so Destiny, good choice. Let's say everybody to good night, and until next time, everybody.
Switch it up.
Thanks for listening. You can support the SwitchCast by visiting us at patreon.com/theswitchcast and join the review crew by rating us and subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also check out our Discord chat where we have an enthusiastic bunch of Switch fans in a family-friendly environment. Also join our Facebook group for daily discussion and quite a bit of activity towards the Switch itself.
You can also contact us directly via email at kc@theswitchcast.com and jv@theswitchcast.com. Talk to us on Twitter @theswitchcast.
Thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music. And check us out on our website at theswitchcast.com, where we will post all relevant links and show notes.
Promotional considerations provided by publishers in the form of review copies of games.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my.